how the super...
You remember the original...
And who's that?
Was the movie State Fair with Gene Crane? Sat in Indiana, and that was...
I believe of state fairs around the country who will now write to us and say what.
Yeah.
And welcome. I'm Bryant Gumbel. I will resist the urge to say sitting in for Tom Brokaw because...
What?
Never mind those two people. Let's watch TV.
No, we were wondering who designed that set with the checkerboard back there. I mean, my goodness, haven't we aged? Welcome back to our second hour of a very special edition of Today. I'm Bryant Gumbel, along with Jane Pauley. We are heading into our 36th year. I guess we're now an hour into it. We're going to go down memory lane a little bit more and... tell some war stories as this morning proceeds. Sure.
We'll also get a little critique of Willard Scott's weather technique from one of his predecessors. Lee Merriweather is here. She traded in her Miss America crown for a good alarm clock. We'll also talk to three of the Today girls. That was their official designation. Helen O'Connell, Florence Henderson, and Betsy Palmer. Also, Edwin Newman and Betty for Nashville share some of their thoughts on their respective tours of duty here on Today. And we'll review one of the top news stories of 35 years ago, the McCarthy investigations, with two men who were actively involved.
We've been proceeding with some of the numbers that Today has compiled over the years. If we've got this right, and I don't know who counted, we have had 47,224 guests. Well, the one who's going to step in and perhaps be our 47,225th is the one who was also among our first. One of the first authors ever interviewed on this program, interviewed exactly 35 years ago this morning. Flora Coles will be with us in this hour. Let's get to the news desk to John Palmer.
Brian, Jane, thanks. Good morning. In the news this morning, in San Juan, Puerto Rico, police are now holding two people in connection with that New Year's Eve hotel fire, and officials say there could be more arrests. Correspondent Jim Kaiserski reports that one of those charged, a hotel union worker, is being held this morning on $2 million bail.
A caravan of federal and Puerto Rican vehicles escorted hotel worker and Teamster Union member Hector Escudero Aponte to a San Juan courthouse. Escudero Aponte is charged with using sterno cooking fuel to start a fire in the DuPont Plaza Hotel New Year's Eve. 96 people died.
We filed against this member of the union, Hector Escudero Aponte, 96 murder charge.
According to a 3-page federal complaint, the fire was started in a hotel ballroom following a Teamsters Union meeting. Officials have said arsonists wanted only to frighten management after the Teamsters Union had failed to reach a contract agreement with hotel management. However, a raging fire developed, and most of the victims found themselves trapped in the hotel casino. As a result of the hotel fire disaster, the legislature here is already considering new laws to tighten hotel fire safety standards. The governor has authorized an appropriation of $4 million for an understaffed and under-equipped San Juan Fire Department. Jim Kazerski, NBC News, San Juan, Puerto Rico.
U.S. arms negotiators in Geneva on this, the eve of another round of talks with the Soviets, are hoping this morning that some new faces in the Moscow delegation may mean new life for those talks. Correspondent Jim Bitterman has more in this report from Geneva.
Without fanfare, the new chief of the Soviet arms delegation arrived on a commercial flight from Moscow this morning. But Yuli Vorontsov is not here because he's just any arms expert. The first deputy foreign minister was named to his post after American complaints that his predecessor, Viktor Karpov, didn't have the clout to deal adequately with arms questions. Vorontsov, who's a member of the Soviet Central Committee, seemed confident enough that he can achieve a few things.
Some success, naturally. Do you think that your position will help solve some of the tricky problems that are in front of the negotiators? That's what we intend to do with Mr. Kampelman, as I understand.
And now it seems it's the Soviets who are upset. When Vorontsov's appointment was announced in Moscow yesterday, there was dissatisfaction that Washington had not replaced American chief negotiator Max Kampelman with someone of higher rank. But Kampelman, who was just promoted Monday to a State Department counselor, saw no problem.
My appointment originally in March 1985 to this responsibility was an appointment at an extremely high level and at a level comparable to Mr. Vorontsov's.
It is not simply questions of clout, though, that have impeded progress on arms control. The two delegations have before them plenty of unresolved and complicated problems to solve before they arrive at what Ambassador Kampelman calls the negotiating endgame. Jim Bitterman, NBC News, Geneva.
In Lebanon, hostage negotiator Terry Waite is warning foreigners this morning to leave West Beirut. This after Tuesday's kidnapping of a French photographer, which brought to 19 the number of foreigners being held there. Two more basketball players, both of them guards from the Houston Rockets, have been banned from playing in the NBA. The two were benched for using drugs. More from NBC reporter Jane Peterson.
The two players ousted for using cocaine are Lewis Lloyd and Mitchell Wiggins, starters for the Houston Rockets. Their drug tests administered by the NBA had returned positive. Both must now wait 2 years before appealing the decision.
I'm not surprised that the issue of drugs is something that continues to affect us as well as it affects the rest of society.
In Houston, Rockets coach Bill Fitch.
You know, it's not the type of thing that should happen to any ball club. It's not the type of thing that should happen to anyone that you have any feelings for.
Wiggins and Lloyd told officials they will enter a drug treatment program at NBA expense. In the meantime, the Rockets will have a tough time finding replacements. Both Wiggins and Lloyd were key figures in Houston's drive to the championship playoffs last year.
Mitchell Wiggins gets the basket and a foul.
Jane Peterson, NBC News, Houston.
In Southern California, 2 men are charged with trespassing this morning after police say they were caught riding on the backs of killer whales at Marineland. The 2 men, according to police, jumped into the whale tank fully dressed and had what one of them called a great ride. The 2 men say they got the idea over a couple of beers at a bar, perhaps more than a couple.
Yeah.
Now 7 minutes after the hour, Brian.
I can think of better ways of having fun. Thank you, John.
Strange but true stories from John Palmer's Book of Life.
You're trespassing a rattlesnake cage, too.
That's next. That's tomorrow's big story. As I say, I'm still thrilled from seeing all the illuminaries in the hall.
Nice
Hugh Downs. These are my idols. These are people that, you know, I was a kid I used to look up to.
Almost makes you want to give back the money today, doesn't it?
And I'm almost, no, not that dramatic. I'm almost their age. What do you mean look up to? But Frank Blair was still my mentor. I love Frank Blair with all my heart and soul. If it weren't for Frank Blair, I wouldn't be here. You know, when I did a radio show in Washington, he was my first announcer. I was 18 years old. High school hit parade, and Frank was the announcer on WOL. Is Frank still in the control room?
Always tell the radio guys, they got the great pipe.
Oh, yeah, Frank has got a pair of cords on him. Listen, I want you to see a beautiful lady. I don't know if you can take a shot of this close. This is the lady that we're referring to in particular. She's 104 years old, Vinnie Baker Anderson of Vernal, Utah. On her way on a motorbike in a parade, she claims she's 2 years older than the Statue of Liberty. How about that? And riding a motorbike. Don't you wish you could, and maybe you will someday? You're a pretty healthy dog.
Some days I feel healthy. Look at the rain in the southeast.
We got it today, boys and girls. If you're looking for weather, we've got almost a touch of what you might call Indian summer or the January thaw or what have you in the mid-Atlantic states today. But rain all the way down from the Mobile, Alabama, back up through Dallas, Texas, into parts of the Tennessee and Ohio Valley. Some of that rain will be heavy at times and thunderstorms along the Gulf Coast. The east is incredible, from New England all the way back down through Florida. South Florida is unbelievable. It's going to knock 80 at some time. Cold air, new Arctic front moving into the northern plains and upper Mississippi, dropping temperatures 20 to 30 degrees from what they were yesterday. Remember, Rapid City yesterday was something like 70 degrees, 68 degrees, 20 to 30 degrees cooler today, and then even 20 or 30 degrees cooler yet tomorrow. In the northwest, you got some snow in the Cascades and another wet weather system moving into Seattle. I think they had some snow in Seattle this morning. A lot of fog in the valleys of California and in southeastern part of Texas. So, let's see what's happening in your world this morning.
Look for cloudy skies today with a good chance for showers. Still warm, a high of 57.
Two more quickies. Carl Wass, a Swede and also a Navy man from Yorba Linda, California, is 100. And Sarah Jane Pierce of Alvarado, Texas, is 107 years old today. America's living longer and longer and longer. What? Jane? Now here's Jane with another incredibly lovely lady.
Well, in a minute. So now that we've heard from Willett on this 35th anniversary morning, we're going to take a look at how the weather was reported by Dave Garraway in the early years of today when things were a little different. And then again, maybe not so different.
Here comes the old weather. Pretty complicated today, too, okay?
The snow is snowing, the wind is blowing, but I can't weather
3 times every morning as the weather changes. You see, we don't make it up or read it out of the paper. We're in communication directly with the United States Weather Bureau down in Washington. Jim, tell us now the general situation over the country. We got 2 minutes for you. Jim isn't on the audio circuit this morning, is he?
Keep me waiting till it's getting aggravating. You're a faux.
And as usual, we're out of chalk again. Just a minute. Whoops, just a minute. That's a quick whoops. Cloudy weather up here. Let's go. Whoops. Oh. This will be one of Lee's jobs starting Monday. Miss America of 55 will be running the weather department for us here, keeping in touch with the Weather Bureau. Lee Merriweather, Miss America of 1955. We got a new sucker. What did she find out?
1955, Lee Merriweather became the Today Girl. That was, in fact, the official designation. You couldn't have been more than 20 years old.
19.
19? And you
Yes.
did the weather. What did... Forgive me. What did you know about the weather?
Absolutely
Nothing.
Just like Willie.
Hi, Lee. That's my cue, right? That's right. Between the two of us, we're a group.
Oh, that's
But had you ever dreamed in a million years you'd do the weather? I mean, had you, when you were Miss America, going through all
not
of
at all. No, I mean, I had no idea that I would ever be on television, let alone, I mean...
How long did you take in your crown was taken off your head, what, how many...
A month.
A month before?
No, a month. Oh, no. I knew a week after I appeared on the Today Show, after I won. And they asked me if I would be the woman's editor, their first woman's editor on the show. And I said, well, I have to travel with the Miss America pageant. And they said, well, when will that be over? And I said, well, next September. And I said, all right, will you come on? I said, can I have a little bit of rest? So they gave me a month after September, and I came in October and stayed for a year and 2 months.
How'd you like the hours? Did that bother you at all? Because it's Miss America, you sort of stayed out all night, I guess.
Well, no. Miss America was I was chaperoned within an inch of my life. I mean, there were no men
They kept Lasculi and Frank Blair away from you?
Well, that was it. It was culture shock. I mean, immediately it was...
Quickly, what's the state? Never mind. All right, that's cheating. No, so how did you do the weather? What was the technique by which you could, in fact, do the weather without...
Well, I don't know.
Knowing
You
the
can
details.
see this now that it says snow, right, because it's white. Well, it was written in red.
In red.
And then I would take the chalk and write in snow.
A lot of people don't realize.
I knew it.
Explain that, Willie.
Well, a lot of people don't realize that, right? That in the old days of television, you could write in red, and for some reason red didn't show up at home, and you couldn't see it.
Black and white, too.
people would say, "Gee, that's wonderful.
Oh,
you have all those
smart. She
temperatures
knows
memorized."
All those temperatures, and because we didn't have teleprompters. Well, we did have teleprompters, but they were for commercials.
That's right. You couldn't write all that information on the weather.
So when something
fast.
that can go wrong, and generally would, how would it generally go wrong for you?
For me?
They'd erase the numbers on you or something?
Oh, yes. Well, I'd say the wrong state. I mean, I would do really...
But that was part of the charm of it, right? I mean, look at that. I saw J. Fred Muggs moving the map, and I saw Garraway with Jimmy Fiddler, old Jimmy, on the telephone in Washington, and he didn't show up sometimes because the line was bad. So the weather is... People will forgive you, won't they, when you make...
And for the sake of historical accuracy, it was Kokomo the monkey. That was not J. Fred Muggs.
Oh, that was Kokomo?
There was Kokomo.
Oh, I didn't know. I know Phoebe B. Phoebe was J. Fred Muggs' wife. Phoebe B. Phoebe. But
right. Well, I worked with J. Fred. I skated with J. Fred and Rockefeller Center.
Oh, you name dropper.
I did.
Who got top billing? Whose agent prevailed?
He did.
Yeah.
I've been aced out by a two-monkey son. I've been here 3 years.
We have been reduced to Phoebe B. Phoebe must sound like babbling to folks at home who are just getting up and finding out this is, in fact, today and has been for 35 years on NBC.
Wow. You.
How many times have you seen me ask someone a simple question that was worth $50, $100, even $500? Well, now I have a simple question for you that should be worth a whole lot more to you and your family. How much is it worth to know for sure that after you're gone, your loved ones will have needed money to help pay bills and expenses that they'll have to face without you? How much is it worth to know for sure that if you're between 45 and 75, you can get guaranteed cash value whole life insurance protection from a trusted insurance company that will never turn you down because of your age or your health, even if you've been turned down by other companies before? Now, is all that worth just $6.95 a month? Did you just nod your head yes? Well, if you did, I urge you to call this toll-free phone number now for free information on this guaranteed cash value life protection for just $6.95 a month. You know, when the folks from Continental American Life first told me about this plan, I couldn't believe people our age could get this much for so little. That's why I own it myself. Just think, only $6.95 a month guarantees you permanent cash value life insurance that can never be canceled. There's no medical exam, not even a single health question to answer. And don't forget, this coverage builds cash value, so you can even borrow against it for any financial emergency. I don't think anyone has ever made it easier to get the insurance protection that you know your family needs. There's no obligation, so call this toll-free number now for your free personalized information packet and card. Believe me, this is a call that's really worth it.
If you're between the ages of 45 and 75, call this toll-free number right now, 1-800-872-4644. Operators are standing by, ready to rush you the free information that Monty Hall spoke of. So call 1-800-872-4644. This is a free call, 1-800-872-4644.
After 8 this morning, the argument that never ended. In 1952, as the Today Show was born, the hysteria over the alleged infiltration of the country by communists was reaching its peak. In Washington, the House Un-American Activities Committee had been holding hearings to identify communists since 1938, and they continued full throttle. And in the Senate, Wisconsin Senator Joseph R. McCarthy was gearing up a personal crusade to kick communists out of government.
And oh, that's an awful thing. Even the most left-wing and communist-controlled publications do not object to grand speeches about the rats who are undermining the foundation of our nation. But to take a shovel and dig out and destroy those rats.
It's all history now, but the debate over that period lives on. Joining us now in studio are two men who were involved with it all. Robert Morris was counsel to the Senate Internal Security Subcommittee, and Leonard Bodine is a teacher of constitutional law and leading civil liberties lawyer. He represented scores of witnesses who were called to testify. Gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Why is that era still an open wound between the left and the right?
Because I think that the amount of destruction that was done by the committees during the McCarthy period and by the government's loyalty program destroyed thousands of lives and careers and deprived the government of the most valuable employees it ever had.
The committees did identify some infiltrators within the government structure. Was it worth the national
As counsel to the committee, our committee holding hearings, and they were not McCarthy hearings, by the way. Joe McCarthy was never part of internal security.
That's the general name given to the many hearings that were involved.
Tactically devised by the opposition. We were able to show that 37 high officials of the United States government, including the confidential assistant to the President of the United States, the very powerful Undersecretary of Treasury, Howard Dexter White, Al Jahiz was in charge of all post-war planning, even though evidence was there that he was a Soviet agent. And then you had Frank Coe, who was Secretary of the International Monetary Fund. Now, he had these hearings all during this period, 35 years ago. We were supported by civil liberties groups at the time. I had received an affidavit attesting to my fairness. And the liberal establishment in New York, people like Norman Thomas, Murray Barron of the Liberal Party, Dave Dubinsky were supporters of what we were trying to do. And every one of our conclusions were unanimous. And we were able to clear the air and enable John Foster Dulles to fashion a strong foreign policy.
So you're saying it was worth whatever price was paid?
Well, there's no price paid.
You don't think so? Do you think so?
Oh, the price that was paid was the destruction of academic freedom in the universities, the deprivation to the government of thousands of loyal employees, the interference with the United Nations, which fired people who had been marvelous staff members, the loss of the right to travel.
If our Constitution was being trampled, why didn't the court step forward?
Well, the courts did eventually, but the courts always lag before they take action. And eventually the courts held, in Kent against Dulles, the case I argued, that there was a constitutional right to travel, and it could not be taken away because of the political associations of individuals. And the courts eventually held that many of the procedures in the loyalty program were unconstitutional. And the courts eventually held that Smith Act prosecutions were illegal. So they did act eventually.
Should we see a revival of those kind of internal security hearing?
Well, just a minute now. In the first place, let me respond to Mr. Boudin. You will have difficulty finding someone who is not a communist dismissed from government or dismissed from the schools or the university.
You're saying they weren't valuable people to the government?
Right. Now, the big point is this, that people don't realize that today, 1987, we have no domestic intelligence agency in the United States. Now, that may come as a shock to you. But because of this fabrication of McCarthyism, no one wants to touch internal security. For instance, the FBI cannot monitor communist or other subversive activities unless they commit a crime or commit an act of violence. Otherwise, the communists have a free hand, they're free from scrutiny. FBI agents are being sued today and getting big judgments against them because they dare to monitor communist activities.
So you would
People don't realize that.
So you would like to see a revival of internal security?
Well, look, we have no security in the nation. Our country is, we're losing one country after another around the world. The last 10 years, 13 countries have gone over communism.
Quickly, could we revive the hearings without trampling on rights?
We could revive it if more people thought as Mr. Morris is thinking. I think that the whole operation of the United States government today, with its secrecy program, its disinformation program, its assumption of war-making powers by the president in violation of the congressional power to declare war, all of these things could lead to McCarthyism again.
Gentlemen, I'm going to have to stop you right there and thank you both for joining us on what is a very special morning for this program. Mr. Morris and Mr. Boudin, thank you very much. 8:22. We're going to come back. More of our 35th anniversary of today on NBC.
It's been a long day. Let's go to bed.
Honey, there's something I'd like you to sleep on tonight.
Oh?
I think we should enroll in Union Fidelity's Guaranteed Life Plus. It's an insurance plan for folks age 45 to 74 that guarantees our acceptance. I called their toll-free number for free information. It came in the mail today.
Sounds great, but we bought life insurance years ago.
Yes, but we both know how the cost of living has gone up since then, and our current insurance may not be enough. They say in this brochure that because of inflation, a $20,000 insurance policy bought 10 years ago is now worth less than $10,000.
I had no idea. But how does this insurance plan help?
It pays top dollar cash benefits over and above our present coverage. And we don't have to take physical exams or answer a single health question to qualify because we can't be turned down for any reason.
That's hard to believe. I mean, I'm over 50. This insurance plan must be very expensive.
Wrong, dear. It's $4.95 a month.
$4.95?
I've compared other plans, and that rate is among the most affordable on the market for this type of protection.
I'll say.
That's a group rate. It won't increase for as long as we keep the coverage.
No physical exam?
Nope.
Sounds great. Plus, it covers both of us.
Yep, and you know how important that can be for a family. If something should happen to either one of us, that cash would sure be useful in meeting financial commitments like mortgage payments,
Monthly bills, final expenses.
completion of the kids' education.
I don't think I have to sleep on this at all. My mind's made up. Let's mail the enrollment form right away, for our sake and theirs.
For $4.95 a month, you too can be protected. If you're age 45 to 74, call this toll-free number today. Call 1-800-854-1200, and we'll send you a free information kit on this important guaranteed life insurance plan. Call right now, 1-800-854-1200. Operators are standing by.
We'll visit with some women who were called the Today Show girls after a station break.
Wordplay is turning words.
I am making the fastest chicken nuggets in the entire planet. The fastest.
People can't believe how fast new microwave hot bites are.
Hot bites! Look at them! Look how tasty and delicious, and in only 2 minutes,
6 nuggets with sauce in 2 minutes. All tender, juicy breast meat.
You know, with these chicken nuggets, I never have to leave the house. I think I never will leave the house. You know, I think I might lock myself in the house all day.
New microwave hot bites from Banquet.
Wait a second, this isn't my house. I'm in someone else's house. Get me out of here.
When you call Baptist Hospital Care Finders to find a physician, you get more than a name and phone number. You get a caring professional who's helpful and understanding. You'll get the right doctor, and Care Finders can even help you find a daycare center or a support group. Now that's care finding. Care Finders is a free service of Baptist Hospital, the largest health facility in Middle Tennessee, and the first to offer a hospital-based physician referral service. Call Baptist Care Finders at 329-MD for you.
Channel 4, this is a news update. Here is Sharon Puckett.
Good morning, everyone. Rain is in the forecast and on the radar this morning. Let's check the radar. We're scanning 160 miles in all directions. A few light showers still in Middle Tennessee area. There's some sprinkles in central Kentucky, but not showing up at this time on the radar. Some rain down in northern Alabama. 50 degrees at 8:25. Police and fire investigators have resorted to patrolling the streets of Woodbine, searching for an arsonist. Authorities believe one person is responsible for most of the fires in that area. John Seigenthaler, Jr. reports.
Fire investigators said it was arson. A fire early yesterday morning at a vacant house on Glenrose Avenue. It was the 19th arson in Woodbine since October. And it was the second time this house has been hit. Back in October, the arsonist successfully burned down the garage.
It was quite definite that this was arson. The paper used to start the fire happens to be this morning's paper. So it was found inside in the carpet area in the den where the fire was started.
This example of arson came just hours after Woodbine residents met to ask city officials to do something about the recent rash of fires in their neighborhood.
Last night you had a meeting with those residents. Isn't this kind of a gutsy move on the part of somebody to set a fire right after a meeting like that?
Yes, I say it's sad because somebody's either playing with us or really they've got a problem that they need some help with. We feel like one person set in a lot of the fires, especially in just the vacant houses.
Lisa Jones and Nicole Harris live near the vacant house that was torched yesterday.
Being afraid is one thing, you know, and another thing, you're being petrified at night to go to bed, scared something's going to happen.
And I'm scared to put my trash out. I'm scared they're going to come up one night when I set my trash out for the trash men, and they're going to set my trash on fire, and it's going to blow my whole house up.
Last night, it was clear that police have stepped up patrols in Woodbine, but investigators say they still don't have a suspect. John Seigenthaler, Jr., Channel 4 News.
Clarksville police say they'll ask prosecutors to seek the death penalty for two men charged with killing two Fort Campbell officers. Authorities said 19-year-old Ronnie Cawthorn and 22-year-old Brett Patterson have confessed to the murders. Captain Patrick Smith and his wife, Captain Rosemary Smith, were found in their home Friday morning. Both had been strangled, and Mrs. Smith had been raped. The two suspects face charges of first-degree murder, and authorities said they'll soon be charged with aggravated rape, armed robbery, and first-degree burglary. Now for a check of the weather. Rain is in the forecast for a day or two. Currently in Nashville, conditions are like this. We are cloudy with 47 degrees, winds from the south at 7. In the forecast for today, cloudy, a 50% chance for rain, high of 57, winds from the south at 10. Tonight, cloudy, a 40% chance for rain, low of 42, winds from the southwest at 10. Tomorrow, cloudy, a 30% chance for rain. Expect a high of 50 tomorrow with temperatures falling in the afternoon. Winds from the southwest at 10, then shifting to the northwest, a low of 37 tomorrow night. Then the extended outlook for Friday, partly cloudy, high of 44, a low of 35. Then Saturday, a chance for some precipitation, high of 40, nighttime low of 29. Then Sunday, look at that, a chance for flurries, high of 44 and a low of 32. That's it for now. We'll have more news following the Oprah Winfrey Show.
Often when things are hard to find, you need a little help. And that's exactly what the Silver Pages is for. This baby can shed light on all kinds of discounts and special offers for people 60 and older. Real discounts you can get with your Silver Savers Passport card. So before you shell out money for anything, check your Silver Pages first. Because if you don't, all those discounts will be a lot harder to find. Hi-ho, Silver.
We all thought they'd gone the way of dinosaurs long ago, but they're still around. On the next Oprah Winfrey Show, we're going to meet the endangered species. Male chauvinists they are, still confounded by women's insistence on equality in the workplace and at home. They still believe that women's place is in the home and will never believe that females can do anything as well as males. They say that working women are the true ruination of our society. Meet the male chauvinists next.
Wednesday morning at 9 on Channel 4.
We're back at 8:30 on what is a very special morning for this program. Network Television's longest-running weekday program continues, moving into our 36th year.
It just seems like the nation's longest. It just seems that way.
Oh, come on.
Long running.
Wonderful.
Huh?
That's why we got track shoes on.
Yeah.
We're tooting our own horn this morning because we've reached an important milestone, so important that no other morning news program has reached it. No other program, in fact, has reached it. In this half hour, we're going to hear from a man who has worn a lot of hats over a lot of those years here on Today. Edwin Newman is going to be stopping by, a neighbor and friend.
Ta-da!
Some other members of the family will be back. They were known officially as Today Girls. Helen O'Connell, Florence Henderson, Betsy Palmer were just three of them. And Betty Furness will be here to recount some of the changes she's seen since she started on Today.
And we are going to go to London to interview one of Jean's former bosses, right? I mean, you used to work with Fleur Coles?
Fleur Coles, yeah. She had a magazine called Flair that had a hole in the cover. There was a real hole in the cover. It was a very fancy magazine.
She was also one of the first guests on Today 35 years ago. Let's get to the news desk first. Here's John Palmer.
Thanks, Brian. In the news this morning, police in Puerto Rico today will charge a hotel busboy with conspiracy and setting the fire that killed 96 people at the DuPont Plaza Hotel on New Year's Eve. On Tuesday, police arrested another hotel worker and charged him with 96 counts of murder and one of arson. 35-year-old Hector Escudero Aponte is accused of setting fire to furniture in the hotel's ballroom with sterno fuel. The busboy is accused of providing that fuel. Although tense labor relations may have been a motive in the fire, officials say there is no evidence to suggest that the Teamsters Union, which represents the workers, ordered or approved the arson. There's 6.5 inches of snow on the streets of Paris this morning. It's the latest evidence of a record-breaking Arctic cold spell that has gripped most of Europe for more than a week now. More than 120 people have died from the cold, most of them in the Soviet Union, where temperatures have fallen as low as 76 degrees below zero. Many people this morning are hailing a Supreme Court ruling Tuesday that protects pregnant women's jobs. Law correspondent Carl Stern reports.
Lillian Garland sells real estate after the bank she worked for refused to reinstate her after she left to have a baby. Now the Supreme Court has ruled that she should have been protected under a California law requiring reinstatement after pregnancy, which Miss Garland says means a lot to women.
Protection, security. It means that they no longer have to make a decision between having an abortion or having a job.
Justice Thurgood Marshall, who wrote the opinion, said women as well as men should be able to have families without losing their jobs. The court said the pregnancy leave laws in California and 8 other states were not in conflict with federal laws requiring equal treatment for men and women. Yet some want the disability protection extended to both men and women, so women won't seem more burdensome to employers.
I think they'd be the best off if they'd gotten job protection for all workers and so didn't face a risk of being singled out by employers. It remains my goal and the goal of the organizations that filed a brief in the Supreme Court to seek job protection for all workers, not just pregnant workers.
The victory in the California case suggests that women may also win a pending case on whether women are entitled to the same sort of affirmative action help that racial minorities get. The two cases together make this the most important year ever in the High Court for working women. Carl Stern, NBC News at the Supreme Court.
33.5 after the hour. Again, Brian Campbell.
All right, John. Willard has a check of the weather in just a moment. And then there's Loveliness in the Wings, the trio of Today Show girls, right after these messages.
I want to be alone with my imperial chicken, Weight Watcher.
My very favorite Weight Watchers entree, cheese manicotti, filet fish or gratin, beef. I'll think about that tomorrow.
I've tried them all, honey, and Weight Watchers takes the prize in all categories: meat, poultry, fish, pizza, pasta. Weight Watchers. This is living. Oh.
Introducing Metaprin when you haven't got time for the pain of arthritis.
Haven't got time for the pain. No, I haven't got time for the pain anymore.
Metaprin has ibuprofen, the prescription ingredient recommended by doctors 2-to-1 over aspirin for body pain, including minor arthritis pain. And it's gentler to your stomach than aspirin.
I haven't got time for the pain.
When your body hasn't got time for the pain, new Metaprin from the makers of Tylenol products.
When you want to save time and you're cooking for the week, freeze, heat, and serve.
Freeze, heat, and serve microwave dishes in plenty of reusable shapes and sizes from Anchor, the makers of Microware.
Freeze, heat, and serve.
Presenting the Hoover Concept 2, a 2-in-1 cleaner with power drive to make vacuuming easy, plus the convenience of a hand vac. Innovation, another reason America trusts Hoover.
8:35. Will you stop flirting and do the weather?
I love Lee Merriweather. I wasn't in love with Lee Merriweather.
I know that. Do the weather.
I had a crush on her when I was 14. Anyway, let's check the act this morning. Hello, weather fans. We're having a big time here in the old studio today, and this is just like the old days in the Today Show. Look at those beautiful graphics. They had Chiron in those days, visuals, electronic graphics, and 6 feet of snow possible. Try that 6 inches up in the northern Rockies. What the heck? A foot an inch. Not a whole lot of difference there. If it's in your mouth like mine is, it doesn't matter. Also, colder air returning. The Arctic blast moving in from Canada, the northern plains and the upper Mississippi, dropping temperatures 20 to 30 degrees. Sunshine in Southern California. Joe Garagio's little town of Tucson and Phoenix, going to be beautiful, sunny skies. West Texas, same thing, but showers in East Texas along the Gulf Coast. New Orleans going to have rain all the way up through the Mississippi into Chicago. And the Northeast and the Mid-Atlantic states and the Southeast are gorgeous today. Sunny, mild, almost the January thaw or Indian summer-ish like. Here's what's happening in your world this morning.
Warm temperatures continue today, although skies will be cloudy with a good chance for scattered showers, a high of 57.
And a happy birthday wish to Louise Hewick of Carneys Point, New Jersey. She is 100 years old today. Happy birthday. 8:36, and now here's Jane Pauley with some fabulous, fabulous guests.
You bet.
He says the mood is like that in a factory after a strike. And Tennessee collected 12% more tax revenue last month than in December a year ago. Collections rose $29 million. In the weather, the National Weather Service is forecasting cloudy with a slight chance of rain this afternoon and a high in the upper 50s. For tonight, a 40% chance of rain and a low in the lower 40s. And for Thursday, a 30% chance of rain and a high near 50. That's news and weather. More later here on Z17.
I'm Gates.
It's a deadly case of who's who on the next Fall Guy.
Tonight on WZTV 17 Nashville.